then that will be just fine. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and we hope that you enjoy the next hour that we have. I'm just going to go over a few things, and then we'll get started. So I am Shannon Anichetti. I work with Mohr Career Services, which I will talk about in a moment. Thank you all for coming. We do webinars weekly. We've had this series going for a little while, and so it's been kind of cool as we're going virtual to have more students join us. Just a few house rules. For any technical issues that you're having, if you can't hear us or see us or anything like that, at any point throughout, feel free to chat. I will be moderating the chat function, and so I'll try and answer your questions and help with anything as you need. Or again, if you just wanted to let me know something that needed my attention, I'm happy to address that while Brian is getting to present. For all other questions, so questions you might have for Brian throughout or anything you want to ask about company or him, feel free to pop those in the Q&A. We will mostly address those towards the end, but feel free to pop any question you have in at any time, even if he's talking, and we can either come back to it or maybe I'll ping him and say like, hey, this looks like a timely question. So please use the Q&A feature as we're going. So who are we? Who's hosting this? We are Mohr Career Services. So Mohr Career Services is the Lundquist College of Business career support for all of our business students. As you all know, as students, our world has gone virtual, and so has your career support. So we're still here for you. We have a variety of ways for you to engage with us, really from the hours of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. So we have chat features. You can just chat somebody. You can make appointments, video appointments, phone appointments, a lot of different ways to engage with us. So we're still here for you, and we want you to know that. You will also get this resource after. If anybody's watching who's not a business student, the Career Center also still has support for you. So the University Career Center has also moved all of their support virtual, and you'll get that information as well. So please take advantage of it. You know, it can feel maybe stressful right now, but it's a great time to connect with the resources that you have. So now on to the main event, Brian Feeney. So I am going to read Brian's bio and then we'll get started. So Brian Feeney serves in an executive role in the high-tech industry, where he runs a global channel sales team for cybersecurity leader Palo Alto Networks. He has held a variety of leadership positions in sales, marketing, and general management for tech companies such as HP, Intel, Avia, both in Portland and in Los Angeles. One of his most fulfilling assignments was in opening a new Portland office and building out a team of over 30 for Aruba Networks, including hiring 5 fantastic Lundquist graduates in 2015. He holds an MBA from UCLA and is a proud graduate of the 2001 Lundquist Business Honors Program. Brian and his wife of 20 years, Allison, live in Lake Oswego, Oregon, with their 3 kids. They are very involved in their local church and community and have a heart to encourage others and lift up those around them. Brian is thrilled that his entire family has taken up golf, and they spend a good deal of their time together on the course or in other outdoor activities, probably when you can get outdoors, in the beautiful state of Oregon. So with that, Brian, thank you so much for being here, and we're really excited to hear from you.
Well, thank you, Shannon. And first of all, thank you for giving me an opportunity to actually put a jacket on. It's been, 2 months since I did that. I was in San Francisco at the RSA Security Conference with 100,000 other people before all of us shut down our travel. So can you see my screen okay here?
Yep, everything looks great.
Excellent. So as Shannon mentioned, I'm a proud 2001 alum, and I love reconnecting with ducks and really seeing how we can help accelerate our careers together. So I was honored to be asked to speak today. And I'm going to take about 20 minutes. Won't be too long, and we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. But just a little bit more about me. As Shannon mentioned, I've been at HP, Avaya, Intel, Aruba Networks. By far, my most fulfilling assignment was in getting to build out this Portland office for Aruba Networks a couple of years ago. HP later bought Aruba, a large wireless provider, and hiring 5 LCB grads and seeing these 5 LCB grads in sales just take off and really accelerate, shine among their colleagues and their peers. And so anytime I have a chance to hire ducks, I certainly look to do that, just seeing what's gone into this program over many years. It's been almost 20 years for me since I've been there, but I certainly love reconnecting and mentoring the next generation. So Today we're going to talk about just a few things. So number one, Palo Alto Networks. There's a great company in Eugene, Palo Alto Software, and actually sometimes we're confused with them. Palo Alto Networks is actually a 3 billion plus global cybersecurity leader with offices throughout the world. So we'll touch on that in a moment. And I've broken the presentation really into three areas. So the first is a little bit around who is Palo Alto Networks. Second is what are typical sales roles, and then third, what's the career path at Palo Alto Networks. But first things first. So I wanted to start out with a few thoughts. Number one, everybody just take a deep breath. I graduated in 2001, and in 2000 we had the tech bubble and the crash of .com. 2001, of course, also 9/11. 2008, the Great Recession led by financial circumstances and really a 3 to 4 year impact. So I can assure you, you're going to make it. You're going to find a great job. Your career will thrive. We just have these ups and downs in the market, and this is certainly one of those unique times. But if I could come out and graduate in that 2000, 2001 timeframe when the world was on fire, you can do it too, and you're going to thrive. So take heart in that. Secondly, sales, not what you think. So I actually went to UCLA after Oregon and got my MBA there. And the reason I had really an 8-year plan, so Oregon, 2 years full-time work, and then 2 years top MBA program, was because I didn't want to go into sales, right? I had done sales in high school, and I said, this is not what I want to do. But then I actually got into the workplace, got my MBA in marketing, worked at HP, and I realized the great jobs are in sales. These are general management roles. These are strategic. You take operations, marketing, finance, sales, and really I thought this is exactly where I wanted to be once I got into the workplace and realized enterprise B2B sales it's a very special gig. Third, who's the best salesperson you know? Think about it. So I'm a big football fan, so of course Mario Cristobal comes to mind, but you could put Kelly Graves, you could put a variety of Oregon coaches. If you think about it, they're incredible salespeople, right? Mario Cristobal goes into just about any living room and sells top 17-year-old recruits on why they should come out to Eugene and play for the Ducks. Would you say Mario is a salesman or a coach? No, we'd say Coach Cristobal is a GM, he's a coach. He just happens to be an incredible salesman. And finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't say a big go Ducks. It is so exciting to be a Duck, and we are on the rise as a university. So a little bit about Palo Alto Networks. We envision a world where each day is safer and more secure than the one before. Sounds pretty reasonable, right? Certainly whether it's physical or cybersecurity, that's a good thing to strive for. So our mission is simply this: be the cybersecurity partner of choice, protecting our digital way of life. Sometimes mission statements are so complex you can't remember anything there. This is very straightforward. Be the cybersecurity partner of choice, protecting our digital way of life. If you look at organizations today, and you've probably seen this in your internships and areas you've worked before, organizations everywhere are undergoing a profound digital transformation, fundamentally reshaping the ways they operate, innovate, and connect with the people they serve. And here's why. Here are the trends we're looking at. Business is digital. Like when I go to Starbucks today, I go through the drive-thru line, I pull up my Apple Watch, I pay without touching anything, right? Just hit the watch, boom, hold it up. It's all digital now. We have to go fast and manage risk. Companies can't afford to take 9, 12, 18 months to make important decisions as their businesses are scaling. But in security, they have to manage risk very carefully because the hackers are trying to stay one step ahead of us. Speed requires simplicity, right? So you look at, I mentioned the RSA conference, which is a conglomeration of all cybersecurity firms globally, 100,000 people there 2 months ago in San Francisco. You walk on the floor and there are thousands upon thousands of cybersecurity vendors there. And that's tough for a customer. So you have to be fast, agile, and simple. And Palo Alto Networks, as a 3 billion plus company, allows many customers to just aggregate and move to one solution and one technology that can scale across their technology stack and security needs. Consistent visibility and control, right? Tesla's a great example. Companies have to have this. And finally, tight integration. For those of you who have an Apple Watch or another device like this, you realize just simply how many apps are connected in this world that we live in today, right? You could run a map, you can listen to on your ear pods music as you're running. It can tell you what you have coming up in the next 10 minutes. You can get an email. It's amazing the level of integration that happens today. And big data, right? If I was in a room live with you, I'd ask how many of you, by a show of hands, have heard about automation and big data Analytics are driving absolutely everything. And in cybersecurity, automation is key because think about it. If you're a room full of 50 people in a security operations center, the machines are moving much faster than you are in decision making. The hackers running programs are able to automate. So we have to, in turn, automate ourselves and make sure that we're running at light speed. So Palo Alto Networks, just a little bit about us before I move into the sales roles. We cover 3 areas. We call it secure the enterprise, secure the cloud, and secure the future. I won't read through all of these, but whether that's data center, firewalls, branch and mobile, Internet of Things, endpoint, secure the cloud, right? So many of our applications are accessed via cloud today. Amazon Web Services and Microsoft have exploded in this space as a result of that movement. Or secure the future. And actually, this is the segment of Palo Alto Networks that I lead. I run a global channel sales team focused on secure the future, which is the security operations center. You've ever seen a movie with analysts with 24/7 dashboards and alerts coming in from all over the world? That's the segment Palo Alto Networks that I'm specifically aligned to and driving. So what about us? So we're in 85 of the Fortune 100 companies and the majority of Global 2000. This is a very high-end enterprise class solution, that a company like a Wells Fargo or a Citigroup would be very keen to implement. We're number 1 in enterprise security. We're growing at least 30% year over year. And at our last earnings release, we flagged to Wall Street that we expect a little over $3.3 billion in revenue for our fiscal 20, which ends July 31st. So it's been an impressive growth rate really in the 14, 15 years we've been in business. And this is actually even slightly old because we're adding thousands of customers a quarter. We're up to almost 70,000 customers globally as a company. So we're very proud of what we do. We're number 1 in cybersecurity and really very relevant throughout the world. Finally, this is the last piece of validation. For some of you who have checked into the analyst career path, there's a firm called Gartner. And Gartner identifies through this is called the Magic Quadrant. They do it across technology. This is specifically for enterprise firewalls, and they rank according to the various segments: challengers, leaders, niche, visionaries. And Palo Alto Networks is number 1. We're the leader by far. You see Cisco in that space, Fortinet, Checkpoint. We're very proud of ourselves for 8 years in a row being the leader in this space. So that's just a little bit about Palo Alto Networks. And like I said, it's a very exciting time to be in cybersecurity because it's moving and innovating so fast. And even in a downturn like through the coronavirus, we're as busy as we can be because one of our products is remote access cybersecurity. So every one of you who are sitting there accessing the University of Oregon corporate network, you need remote access security. And we're very pleased to be able to offer that. So, okay, the rest of the presentation is really going to focus on what are the sales roles in tech. And I mentioned I gave the used car salesman analogy, which is kind of the go-to joke, right? Some of us have sold cars, so certainly we know that's a hard way to earn a living. But when you look at tech sales, these are true enterprise class B2B jobs. So as an example, and I'll show you a triangle on this and kind of the sales segmentation, your job may be that you own Nike or you own Citigroup or Wells Fargo globally. And every time they have a cybersecurity need, you're engaged with their CTO, their CISO, CFO level, and really driving a 24 to 36 month roadmap, right? And looking at, what is it? You may have a $100 million IT budget, and you're very strategically mapping out initiatives, projects, strategies. And so it's truly a GM type role. And, you look at some of the grizzled veterans in the industry who just oversee one massive global account, and they love what they do. They are best friends with many of the people at their customers and just integrated with going to kids' ball games, family barbecues. It's just a wonderful career path, especially if you like to be around people. So there's 3 primary sales roles in high tech, whether it's collaboration, networking, cybersecurity, and there's many iterations within that, but we're going to talk primarily about end user sales today. So end user sales would be when you actually own the relationship with the customer. You're the one who would say, in Eugene, for example, I run University of Oregon as an account. The second would be technical sales. So you'd be typically mapped to an end user sales account manager, and you're the technical expert. So sales reps can be very technical or not as technical. In our space, we always add them, basically, we call it 4-legged sales calls. So you'd have the rep, and you'd have what we call an SE, a systems engineer, solutions engineer, and that's the technical sales. They're the ones giving demos, speaking deep about the speeds and feeds, understanding the technology at a very deep level. And then third, that's the segment I'm in, is channel sales. So channel sales would be managing the partner ecosystem. So in technology, customers do not typically buy from a vendor like the Palo Alto Networks. They buy from a partner. So University of Oregon or a Nike or a Citigroup or Wells Fargo, they would buy through somebody like an Accenture or even an IBM or a company like Optiv or CDW. And my team oversees those partner relationships. So we're building out, again, annual business plans, driving sales, marketing, financial operations, really looking at all aspects of the relationship and touching so many different functions. And so for me personally, I found a home in channel sales, and I've had an opportunity to be in many senior leadership roles, running one as VP channel sales globally for a company called Imperva before this, about $300 million company. And it's afforded me an opportunity to stay true to my U of O finance roots. I got my finance concentration at the LCB, marketing MBA, and then sales. I get to touch it all, so it's been great for me. So this is where we really get into the details of the various sales roles out there. And I pulled this from one of our strategy guys today, and this is how we look at the market. And I'll give you, I know it's a lot to see, but I'll give you some examples. Just start with the middle triangle, and this will give you a feel for how a large tech company allocates their sales and technical teams, and also how we segment the market. So if you look at the top, global, a good example on the West Coast, and I'll try to pick Oregon or West Coast, would be Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is a global entity with reach in many, many different countries. And so you have to have one global account manager who can get on a plane to London the next day to work on an opportunity there. They could perhaps head down to Sydney. I mean, they're looking at this relationship from a global standpoint. Majors would be the next level down. And for us, you know, that's hundreds of accounts in the US. A great example would be like a Nike. Nike would be considered a majors account. The next segment would be named. And so you'd have maybe a rep who has, for us, all of Portland area, or maybe Portland and Eugene. And accounts that would fall into that would be like an up-and-coming account, like a Jive Software is the name I think of. You know, you're getting to 400, 500, 600, 2,000 employees, very relevant to the business, but not quite into that major space like a Costco or an Amazon or a Boeing. And then finally, the commercial segment would be a company like a Selco Credit Union or a Pape Group, right? And they're doing pretty robust business and have high technology needs, but there's many of them. And so you'd also have roles that target that commercial segment. On the left side, we have teams that cover federal. So really the only federal account out here is the Bonneville Power Administration. So we have a rep in Portland who actually covers BPA. Most of our reps would be in San Diego, they'd be in DC, aligned with federal accounts. SLED would be state and local education. So you have University of Oregon would fit in there, or City of Eugene, or eWeb as an example, and those kind of state and local entities, whether it's education, government, and that's a separate sales team. So again, I'm showing so far on this left side, 6 different types of sales reps, right? And these are, all they do is, if you're global, you might have 1 account. If you're majors, you might have 3. If it's commercial, you might be mapped to Southern Oregon and have every business that's not named majors or global in Southern Oregon. And again, you're essentially building relationships with the partners that sell to them, you're building relationships with those customers, and you're driving mind share for your company. In this case, mind share for Palo Alto Networks cybersecurity solutions. Now on the right side is, these are called overlay roles. So the channel, what I mentioned, would be one that covers everything. So at our business, we sell absolutely everything through a channel partner, like a CDW. I gave you that example of a company that should be familiar to just about everybody on this call. We have inside roles as well. So they'd be in New York, they'd be in Dallas, Texas, and also in Santa Clara. And that's what we're going to spend the next segment of this presentation on, is the career path for recent college grads into those types of roles, which lead to these named majors global roles. We have services teams, we have renewals teams. As you can see, a robust professional enterprise sales organization is well thought out and segmented by skill set, by customer base, and by type of expertise. And Shannon, I can't see the Q&A, but if there are any questions that you want to interrupt with, feel free to. If not, we'll go about 5 more minutes and then open it up for free Q&A.
Yeah, I think you can keep going. There will be some at the end, though, for sure.
Excellent. Okay, so let's pivot to, you said, okay, Brian, you've talked about Palo Alto, you've talked about sales roles. What would that look like for me? Maybe you're a junior, a senior, maybe you just started, maybe you're in grad school and you're looking, okay, what is the career path of Palo Alto Networks? So we have a program called LEAP, and this is essentially, it's a program for 100 recent college grads globally. And we break that up into cohorts, and I'll show you that in a moment. But it starts typically, the feeder for LEAP, which is our RCG, opportunity to enter Palo Alto Networks, is through our internship programs. And so these run from May to August or June to September, typical one-to-one mentorship, exciting opportunities, challenging projects. We do a lot to connect with grads, interns, both in that local office, whether it's Santa Clara, Dallas, New York, and really make this a wonderful experience. I have a chance to present to our interns and engage with them. It's a very sharp group. We actually have 10 sales interns right now in the U.S. This summer. So when you come into LEAP, LEAP would be either a 1 to 2 year program, depending on whether you're in the U.S. or in Europe, whether you're on certain tracks like operations versus sales. But it's a strategic talent initiative to attract, hire, retain, and develop a diverse workforce for Palo Alto Networks. So you come in, it's a bit of a rotational where you have exposure to leadership opportunities, experience on real life projects, and you build professional job-specific expertise through a blend of learning and development offerings. And what that looks like for sales in particular, LEAP that you see across the top is all new grads. And there's a cohesive professional development community. And then within this, we have these different segments. You could go into product management. There's the sales track, which is a 1 year program, and that's the one that I'm talking about today. We have a systems engineering track. So when I told you about technical sales, these would be the very IT-oriented, deep in the weeds technical folks who say, you know what, I prefer that, but I still enjoy the sales side, so align me with the sales rep. And then we have a support track as well. And so as you come in, you go through that 1 year program, and here's what a career path would look like at Palo Alto Networks for sales. So say you came in as an intern, 10 sales interns, we have 10 coming into our sales academy. So 10 or 11, typically we love to feed it from successful interns. Sometimes they don't always join, so there's still some openings. And we typically recruit about a year out. So if you were looking to join our sales academy in fall of 21, we're going to start recruiting for that here in really in the August, September timeframe. So you come in, 1 year program, and after you complete that, you have an opportunity to move to like a business development rep role where you're aligned with some of our, like a majors team. Maybe you're aligned to the team that covers Nike or aligned to the team that covers Costco as an example. You may come through and do that for a year and you have a chance to become a commercial sales rep. So maybe you're based in our New York City Empire State Building office and you're covering Southern Connecticut as a territory in that commercial space, like we showed you on the big triangle, kind of the bottom space. That can lead to bigger assignments, after a year or two, moving into a management role, becoming a territory sales rep where you're starting to get into the field, seeing customers face to face. Tech sales are a heavy, heavy travel position. I mean, I travel almost every week. Alaska Airlines is my best friend. I do a lot of short trips, 1 or 2 day trips. I go to New York and back in just one night. I fly out, have a meeting or two, come back the next day. But there's a lot of travel in tech and specifically in sales. And so some people are drawn to that. And it's an opportunity to see a lot of customers and partners face to face, which energizes me for sure. I know there are others who are wired like me. And then finally, as you kind of work through this path, it can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years for some, depending on what they want to do. You have a chance to, as we call it, graduating into the field. And it doesn't always mean you stay in the same market you're in. You may start in Texas as an inside team, and then there's an opportunity to go to Chicago or to Denver as a commercial sales rep. And you move, and company moves you into the role, and you do that for a couple of years, and you love it. Or some say, you know what, I want to become one who just runs Costco or a majors account. And so there's all sorts of incredible paths you can take, including the non-sales options you see below. Some of our sales academy graduates say, you know what, I really enjoy the operations side, the sales ops side. I love the data. I want to run sales plays for the team, looking at the numbers, validating certain strategies. Others will say, I want to go into channel sales, like what I do, and work with partners and develop partner relationships. Some will go into the renewals team and make sure that that robust revenue string just continues to come in as we, build customer. It's like the snowball rolling downhill, right? And so there's many opportunities in tech sales, specifically in cybersecurity. So our last slide, like I mentioned earlier, is just a little bit of a level set on the internship program. We also recruit about a year out on these too. So perfect timing on this presentation. We're going into the summer where we'll start looking again for that next summer's cohort. If you go to our career page at paloaltonetworks.com, you'll see careers, working here, interns, and university path. And make sure you get your resume in, engage with the team. My LinkedIn is at the very front slide, and I believe Shannon will send this out later, so you'll have that. But the best way to connect is to use LinkedIn, right? Find somebody that you know who works at a company like a Palo Alto Networks. See if you can just do a quick, one-on-one over the phone, over Zoom, if you're face-to-face over coffee, when we can do that again. And really, use those opportunities to build support for coming into the company. One example of how it worked for me is when I got my MBA at UCLA, before I even started, I had access to the alumni network. And so I just went in and I looked at all Portland UCLA MBAs, and I wanted to go to Intel. There were a few at Intel. I had a coffee chat with them. A couple months later, they opened up an internship for me. After business school, I had my first job at Intel. So utilize that network. The Oregon Alumni Network is very strong. They want to hire other ducks. I love hiring ducks. And so, like I said, connect with me, connect with those in our career center. And I'm really working hard to make sure that our presence at Palo Alto Networks is much stronger at U of O in the days to come. So that's it. We kept it to about 22, 23 minutes. Shannon, hopefully that's okay, and we can open it up for Q&A.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brian. That was wonderful. You did awesome. And we have lots of questions going in the Q&A, so that's great. For folks who are watching and been holding off questions, feel free to pop them in, and we're just going to get started. So first question for you, Brian. What Lundquist class or experience was most valuable to you in making your pivot into your MBA and or beginning a career in sales?
Yeah, there's a couple of questions in there. So for me, I wanted to challenge myself because I wanted to seek out a top 20 MBA program. Like I said, I had an 8-year roadmap, 4 years, University of Oregon, 2 years, Fortune 500 company, 2 years, top MBA program. And everybody has a different path, right? That was just one that I had planned on. So for me, I joined the Business Honors Program, and it's a wonderful program at LCB. It's taught at an MBA level, and so it really sharpened me in terms of preparing for that level of course load and coming into a robust Fortune 500 type environment right out of school. In terms of sales, so I actually went down, like I said, the marketing and finance path first. And when I joined Intel and then later HP, I realized much of what I was doing in channel marketing, working with, for example, large vendors and building out their tech marketing plans, I realized there were a lot of overlaps with what I want to do on the sales side. So I just started engaging with the sales team, shadowing, making sure that I was well known by sales leaders, and I made my interest in them very clear that I wanted to make that shift from marketing into sales.
Awesome, great. Next question also from Keith. What sort of positions should I look for at the intersect of sales and finance?
That's a great question. So if finance is your first love, there are so many positions, whether it's in trading or in wealth management or in some of the large firms that allow you to utilize your financial expertise and also sell, right? I look at a Fisher Investments up in the Portland metro area, very well-known firm, very strong firm. And I know a lot of the guys there who are in VP and up roles, they're great salespeople, but they're also very strong financially. So the reason I got my finance undergrad concentration was I wanted to be able to sell and be a GM and a senior exec, but be very savvy from the finance standpoint. So whether it's going down that finance track or even in tech, there are, in each of the business units, we have in our sales orgs, we actually have a finance contact assigned. And they're not your traditional like FP&A finance individual. They're more of a sales finance role in that they understand the sales motion, but they're responsible for holding our feedback and making sure that we don't go crazy on the sales side, right? That we're not selling our product below cost of goods sold. So many opportunities like that in larger orgs for finance roles in sales organizations.
Great. All right, next question from Amy. Do you have any recommendations for grads entering the workforce during uncertain times? Especially since you mentioned you've lived through that.
Yeah, so be laser focused on your skill set. I discourage people from doing too much of a generalist concentration because you will have a chance later in your career to be a generalist, but really hone in on a very specific skill set. If you've read Crossing the Chasm, a famous business management book, you want to be able to have that tip of the spear solution or expertise. So when a hiring manager says, I need X type of individual with this specific experience, you can put your hand up and say, yep, that's me. So I've always, as I've sought out roles, I've thought, what's my tip of the spear? What's my differentiator with very specific background? For me, my niche would be that channel sales executive leadership and building out strong channel sales teams. So don't be a generalist, be a specialist during these times.
Great. Oh, so much great advice. I love this. Okay, next one. If you don't get accepted into LEAP, are there other recommendations you have to learn similar skill sets skill sets for entry-level positions at Palo Alto?
Absolutely. LEAP is just our formal recruiting program for recent college grads. We also actively hire for our business development rep, corporate sales reps, and it's a chance to come in and, people picture just sitting in a room pounding the phones. It's not that at all. I mean, yes, you're on the phone a lot because you're selling on the phone, but you're talking to people who want to talk to you. This is not calling somebody and trying to force a product on them that they don't want to hear from you. People want to talk to Palo Alto Networks. You're very relevant to their business. Cybersecurity is top of mind. So that's the thing about enterprise sales is it's an enjoyable discussion because they want to talk to you. So you're going to see on our website, to answer the question in the lead up, many roles for BDRs, for CSRs, corporate sales reps. And so you can always put your resume into the system. And, as people leave the company, for example, we backfill those positions.
Awesome. And just, I'm going to say BDR is Business Development Rep in case anybody doesn't know that acronym, but perfect. Thanks for those tips. It sounded like also you mentioned, just want to clarify, the Sales Academy, like you still recruit even for folks who maybe weren't interns, you still maybe open positions into the Sales Academy, is that right?
We do. Yeah, as you can imagine, internships for all of us are a great way to move into a full-time role, but we absolutely have openings for the Sales Academy outside of the internship.
Awesome. Great. Okay. So next question. What skills are you seeking in your interns? Which ones are like hard skills would you recommend, and then some soft skills?
Yeah, the tech industry is very much people focused. Sometimes I joke about, selling widgets from company to company. I would never say that about Palo Alto Networks. We're best in class, but so much of what we do in the channel is relationships with individuals, with CEOs of partners who have built a business. There's a company called Structured Communications in Portland, and they've built a big business here. It's a local entity. They serve many customers with their high-tech IT security needs locally, and I've built relationships with their executives, those types of companies. And so you need to be strong in developing and building interpersonal relationships, enjoying being with people. And so that's why it's not for everybody, right? I mean, there are a lot of happy hours, in normal environment, a lot of networking dinners. I always tell my wife, a typical day on the road, like in New York, would be a full day, 7 to 6, and then a 4-hour dinner. So there's a lot of that. You have to be able to keep up with that pace. If you look at the hard skills, we're looking for people who are very strong analytics, right? Finance, operations, logistics. There's so much what we do in terms of negotiating volume discounts and strategies with bringing in different solution sets. So we look for people who are very sharp financially and have that strong kind of interpersonal acumen as well.
Great. Next one, which could maybe kind of piggyback off of that, in light of maybe extra time people might have right now at home, are there any programs or certificates that you might recommend to hone skills in sales?
Yeah, absolutely. There's many different programs available in tech, depending on the path that you want to go down. Maybe it's security, some want to be in the collaboration space, right? Selling Zoom for video technology. And so within each segment of tech, there are certifications that apply. If you go to our website, you'll see our Unit 42, which is basically our experts, the good guys, right, who are trying to stay ahead of the hackers, figuring out what are the advanced cybersecurity attacks that are taking place today. And so there are a variety of resources there on our website under Unit 42 where you can learn about security. Because I will tell you, within tech, this is absolutely this space, big data, cloud, analytics. These are segments you absolutely want to target right now as you're honing your career. So when I gave the earlier advice about being laser focused, tip of the spear, if you can come into an employer and say, hey, I've studied up on these cybersecurity trends, here's how Palo Alto Networks addresses the market, that sets you apart.
Awesome advice. Okay, next question, more personal, of course. In your opinion, what are the biggest pros and cons of having a position that travels frequently?
That's a great question. So for me, it's a balance. I have 3 kids, 14, 11, and 8. My wife and I have been married 21 years, and so my kids are used to it, but I also minimize my travel when I can. I mean, I still travel, like I said, probably 3 times a month, but I won't go in the night before. I'll take a 6 a.m. flight, and I'll even take a 10 p.m. flight home, sometimes do a long day trip down to the Bay Area. So you have to know that it'll work for your personal circumstances. At some point, if you decide to have kids, if you decided to get married, how does that fit with the family dynamics? And you also have to know that it can be tiring. Just because you got back from a trip at 11 p.m. the night before doesn't mean you don't have that 7 a.m. Zoom call in the morning, right? So it's fast-paced, but it's exciting and fun. If you love taking a bunch of vacations for free with points and miles, that's a nice perk as well.
Good addition at the end. That's so true. Okay, so Lauren wanted to say thank you for your presentation. It was really interesting and informative. When you started looking for a job in sales, how wide did you cast your net?
Yeah, so for me, I didn't have to cast it too wide because my philosophy has always been whatever job you have, do it with excellence, and you'll be noticed and you'll be promoted. So put your head down, do your exact job, whether it's internship, whether it's working at Starbucks, whether it's your first role out of University of Oregon, and just crush it. Be the best at what you do, and that opens opportunities. So for me, it was after business school, being in a channel marketing role, realizing I wanted to be in sales and channel sales. The way I cast my net wide is to start building coalitions, right? Talking to sales leaders within the organization, letting them know I wanted to make the move, getting support from my managers. However, if you're newer in your career and not already in an organization, for sales, there are a variety of programs out there to bring you in and train you up, much like Palo Alto Networks has, an opportunity to come into these types of sales academies. So if you're willing to really join many different industries, and it doesn't just happen to tech, sales skills are transferable, absolutely. Make sure it's enterprise, B2B sales, but when you're in that business-to-business sales realm, if you can come in and go through a formal training program at one company, that does open opportunities across the industry. So it's okay to cast the net wide and look for these types of programs that will give you, 1 to 2 years of formal training.
Awesome, great. This next question you kind of alluded to previously as well, but we'll see if anything else comes up. Do you recommend any specific trainings or classes to kickstart a career at Palo Alto?
Yeah, so while you're in school right now, any elective that you can take around security, and I know that Oregon offers a robust IT concentration, anything you can do that touches network security, cloud security, endpoint security, take advantage of that, right? Because if I'm a hiring manager for recent college grads and they say, hey, I want to work at Palo Alto Networks, here's what I've done at U of O to take on specific tracks for security, that's going to go a long way with us because you don't necessarily have a deep background in sales or post-college work, but you do say, okay, here's specifically what I did. Again, that tip is here, laser focus to set myself up for a career in cybersecurity. For us in particular, cloud security, endpoint security, and network security, though.
Great. We have 2 more questions, but folks watching, if you have more, please pop them in. We're going to be going for about 5 more minutes if we have questions, and whenever we don't. So the next one is from Lauren again. Also, what makes you successful in your position? What skills and attributes are important to have?
Yeah, so There's three things I write in my, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I write it in every binder that I have. And yes, I'm all digital, but sometimes I like just having my notebooks here. And the first is basically, it's this, I call it contagious leadership. And so you want to make sure that as a leader, you're in the trenches with your team, you're driving side by side with them, and you're demonstrating the behavior that you want them to show. And I do fun things with that too. In fact, I give out team awards. This is the Ducky Award. You can see this on the video. Why is it a Ducky? Because I went to U of O and I'm the boss. I get to pick the award and the mascot. So we give out Ducky Awards. It's a viral thing. It comes with a $50 gift card too. But say you're the top growth rep, or maybe I call it the Splashy Duck Award. You've had the biggest impact, or the Mallard, the top person in the organization. That's contagious leadership, right? Making it fun, showing that you care and that you're driving something together. The second is operational excellence. And I judge myself every day on this. You can be so good at what you do, but unless you can demonstrate it and track it, whether it's Excel or Salesforce metrics, it didn't happen, right? Like a tree falling in the forest. So operational excellence is key. Tracking, reporting, setting goals, reporting up to your bosses, whether it's monthly, weekly, quarterly, whatever the right cadence is. And the third is vision and strategy. So I make sure that for my teams and my organizations, I've articulated exactly what my vision is, what the strategy is, and they should always know that and be able to carry that out, saying, hey, Brian asked us to do this and to set this goal. This is what we're doing as a team. So I look every day to make sure, how am I tracking against contagious leadership, operational excellence, and vision and strategy.
Excellent. So the last question, of course, unless anybody else pops more in, is from Dylan, who said, thank you. Is there an opportunity to work out of Oregon at Palo Alto, then travel, but be based in Oregon?
Absolutely. And hey, Dylan. Dylan is a new friend of mine, very impressive LCB student. So good to see you on here. And I had a chance to interview him for the RS program a while back. So thanks for joining. Dylan, to answer your question, is there an opportunity to work out of Oregon and Palo Alto? So I would have told you in earlier beginning career roles, about a year ago, I would have said no. The answer is now yes, because we bought a company called Twistlock, and they're part of our cloud portfolio, and they're based in the Pearl District in Portland. So we have actually set up another corporate sales team out of that office, specifically focusing on our cloud implementations. And the VP of that team is also a fellow Duck, Brian Lake. And so he and I are coordinating on how do we bring in more Oregon grads from the Lundquist College of Business into this office. So that would be a great chance to kind of come in and build your sales career within Palo Alto, and then there's an opportunity to move into more roles. Like for me personally, I can be in just about any executive role in tech from Portland. I could do it from Ben's now. I just need to be near a good airport. So you just want to find that tip of the spear opportunity to come in, and then once you move into field sales roles, there's a lot of flexibility in where you live.
Awesome. And for folks watching, Brian and I were actually talking about, doing site visits or other things with the company. So, more to come on other events. Okay, we have another question here. Do you recommend seeking a long career or doing gig work?
Great question. Great question. So I joke that loyalty to corporations went away when pensions went away, right? So my dad's generation, they do 20, 30 years at one company, and pensions went away, and now 401ks are transferable. In tech, streams of executives seem to move and stay together. A lot of people are at companies 2 to 4 years, and then they move to a different, maybe a startup, maybe they move to a different segment in tech. So there are fewer people these days who are at one company in tech for, say, 10, 20 years, certainly the founders in some cases. So there's a variety of paths. The gig work path is interesting because we work with a lot of folks who are specialists in what they do, whether it's marketing agencies, right? And we bring them in for a project, or even contractors to help us with building out a new business plan template. So personally, I would recommend, though, based on what your interests are, you have to know your level of tolerance for being in, more of a corporate role versus having the flexibility of being a small business owner. So it's a personalized answer, and I've seen people succeed very well in either path. I've done both. I started my own company in real estate development a long time ago, and we still do that on the side, but I really enjoy being in a medium-sized organization.
All right, and you ended perfectly at the 45 mark. It's like you knew. So with that, it looks like the questions have also died down. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. Brian, any last minute things that you wanted to share with the audience?
No, I appreciate you all joining today. And like I said earlier, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. We're going to get through this temporary blip in the market, and you're at a wonderful university, and you're going to enter into a great business career. So be assured of that. And I'd love to connect with any of you in the coming days.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brian, for being here. We really appreciate it. It's been wonderful getting advice and sharing with a company that's hiring, which is somewhat refreshing right now. For everybody watching, again, just remember that you have support at your college. So more career services for the business students. We're here to support you, more things like this, but also just to talk about, how to navigate anything related to your career. And then, of course, again, the University Career Center for other folks. So with that, we will say thank you for everybody who joined us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.